So it's a 20, there's 20 members in your team, Central America. It's a church floor, and it needs to be tiled. You're assured by the ministry partner that all will be in readiness and that the team can start installing tile immediately upon arrival. One member of your team has a lot of experience with this type of work and has volunteered to be the foreman on the project. When you arrive on site, he rules the preparation of the cement floor unsatisfactory and decrees that no tile will be laid until the floor has been properly sanded and sealed. At first, everyone gets on board with this, but after a couple of days of this hot, dirty, exhausting work and of being unable to meet the exacting standards of the foreman, tempers are short. Team members are complaining to you and to each other. Sharp words have been exchanged. This mission is heading downhill. So, personality insights. We have a beaver. We have a beaver on board, so what kind of principles or conflict resolution? Well, one of the things, table, please interject if I misspeak, was to pray. And there is also some comments about being proactive. At one point, this person volunteered to be the foreman. So it'd probably be a good idea to kind of identify their personality and maybe proactively know that Beaver going to be real detailed, and start those communications early and perhaps get an agreement with that person, some buy-in, so they don't go to that weakness of that personality. Okay, so of course now we'll go to principles of conflict resolution. So the thought was, number one, don't shame this person, but rather have a one-on-one with them and try to get resolution there first. If that didn't work, then get some of the key players in that team to come up with, a resolution. And once that resolution had been identified, communicate with that foreman again, say, hey, a couple of us have gotten together, we've made the decision that this is what we're going to do. Let them know. And then after that, as team leader, you would let the team know, hey, this is what we're going to do. We talked with the foreman. We've decided that we're going to move forward with tiling, yada, yada, yada. Okay, now here's where I'm not so fluid. I got to go back to these notes. Let's see here. Also, an important point that was brought up is to discuss what the real, the means to the end. And that goes, we're there to serve, to glorify God, always keeping that in mind. It really isn't so much that the tile's got to be there, but it's about glorifying God, and what we're, the ministry partner is key there as well. Okay, so servant leadership principles. We went down the list and we found that, wow, well, you do have to humble your heart to make that first attempt to communicate with the foreman. Being a follower, of course, following Christ, using, his principles, his leadership principles. Finding greatness in service, of course, glorify God. That's the main key. Taking risks, well, it's always a risk to talk to somebody and handle conflict, but it's got to be done. You can't just let it ride. So we really found that all these principles apply to this particular scenario, conflict.
Good job. Thank you. Thank you. On the field, the host calls the shots. So you could make the argument that in their view, this is ready to go. And unless it's really egregious, you should go. You should go. And back to the leadership, the team leader, when this guy volunteered, did you catch he said he's had a lot of experience, so he volunteered to be the foreman? Well, do you think the team leader necessarily made the right decision? Did he delegate that authority and responsibility in the right place? Maybe not. And that's something you as a team leader should prepare your team for. The standards in this culture, the building codes in this culture, they don't even resemble ours. And you guys who've been building in Nicaragua, I'm sure you know that's true. The standards of construction are different and whatever. So what this team was saying to this host missionary is, you guys don't know how to do this. You're not doing it the right way. Let us show you how it should be done. So if you accept that, let's think about this team leader. Would you say this team leader was a lion? Not the foreman. I'm not talking about the foreman. I'm talking about the team leader. I think not. I think not. I think that the team leader was something not a lion. but he delegated this authority to a lion beaver, it sounds to me like, you know. And another key phrase, again, I'll go back to the volunteer. This guy volunteered. It's been said, and there's a lot of truth to it, that don't ask for a volunteer if it matters who volunteers. Because if you just throw it out there and say, I need a volunteer to do this, somebody who's always wanted to do that but doesn't have a clue how to do it may say, oh, I will. Well, then you're stuck with somebody who may or may not be gifted in that area. So you want to think about what things it's okay to just throw wide open and say, I need a volunteer, and what things you need to more selectively assign and appoint people to do. That's a judgment call. You don't want to build junk, but you also have to honor the culture and your missionary host. That's your responsibility, not to make it Western. You know, there is a school of thought that says we're making a mistake when we go into countries like Uganda and Rwanda and all those places, and we build children's homes, and we put in flush toilets, and we put in all these things. They're not going to have that when they haven't had it. They're not going to have it in their future life, most likely. So are we really doing them a favor? Same thing when we take shoes over and hand them out to kids in darkest Africa that have always gone barefoot and their feet are like shoe leather. So we take them shoes, which they wear until they fall apart. Their feet are no longer accustomed to the places they have to travel, but they don't have any more shoes. So now they have to go back. We have to think about it. And that's the kind of thing that you learn to think about when you read When Helping Hurts. It makes you think about those kinds of issues so that when you go, you are being the most effective you can be to make sustainable, life-changing transformation happen with God's help in these communities. So